loads of pints and nutmegs, and I'm Craig, and this is the first of many videos I'll be doing on an ongoing series where I'll be reviewing all things football. We're going to start with the World Cup and the build up to that and the group stages, and then I'll be going on to moving forward doing the pre-seasons, transfers, Premier League, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, the Europa League, the Conference League, and the Champions League. Obviously it's called pints and nutmegs, so got my beer as I review what I think is going to happen. Now, obviously, I'm going to write off the friendlies because I don't look too much into that. Teams change around with players, ideas, and stuff, even though it's meant to be a build up to the World Cup. Like, for example, England against New Zealand, they put players on that bench that ain't going to the World Cup. Rio and Gamoa come on the second half was probably one of the better players of the whole 90 minutes, but he's not going. Obviously, it's too soon for him, too young, but he was the best player there. And changing 11 players at half time, you're not going to get an idea of how managers want to play and everything else. So I'm not going to look into the friendlies too much or at all, if anything. I'm just going to go through the group stages and just give what I think is going to go on and talk about the tournament and how I think. I don't know the brackets. I haven't looked at the brackets. I'm just going to give a little prediction on what I think is going to happen. So starting off in Group A, we've got Mexico, South Africa, South Korea, and Czech Republic. And from that, I think Mexico will top their group, and I think Czech Republic are going to go through in second, and South Korea will be third, meaning that South Africa obviously bottom of their group, and that's in Group A. Now going down to Group B, you got Canada, Bosnia, Qatar, and Switzerland. Now, for me, I think Switzerland topped that group. I think, I don't know, Bosnia second, Canada third, Qatar fourth. Group C, we've got Brazil, Morocco, Haiti, and Scotland. Now, I think it's going to be pretty straightforward. I think that'll be Brazil, Morocco, Scotland, and Haiti fourth. In Group D, you got United States, Paraguay, Australia, Turkey. So for me, I think Turkey tops that group. I think USA second, Paraguay third, and Australia fourth. In Group E, we got Germany, Curacao, Ivory Coast, and Ecuador. Now, I think Germany tops that group. I think Ecuador will finish second. I think Ivory Coast third, and I think Curacao fourth. In Group F, you got the Netherlands, Japan, Sweden, and Tunisia. Now, I think Netherlands make it through. I think Sweden will be second. I think Japan will be third, and Tunisia fourth. In Group G, I think the group plays out how it is already, with Belgium top, Egypt second, Iran third, and New Zealand fourth. I think that's literally how it will go. In Group H, you got Spain, Cape Verde, Saudi Arabia, and Uruguay. Now, I think Spain will top their group. I think Uruguay gets second. I think Saudi Arabia will be third, and Cape Verde fourth. In Group I, you got France, Senegal, Iraq, Norway. Now, I think France top that group. I think Norway will be second. I think Senegal will be third, and I think Iraq will be fourth. Group J, you got Argentina, Algeria, Austria, Jordan. Now, I think Argentina top their group. I think Austria will finish second. I think Algeria will be third, and Jordan fourth. Hold on, just need a drink. Group K. Now, you got Portugal, the Dominican Republic of Congo. Oh, sorry, what am I on about? Democratic Republic of Congo, Uzbekistan, and Colombia. So I think Portugal top their group. Colombia will be second. The Democratic Republic of Congo will be third, and then Uzbekistan. Group L, England, Croatia, Ghana, Panama. Now, I think England top their group. I think Ghana will be second. I think Croatia will be third. And I think Panama will be fourth. Now, I can give some insight as to why I think these things. So, starting with the top group, so I think Mexico, they'll be unchallenged. I don't think there's teams that are going to convincingly win their groups. I don't think, you might get one or two throughout the stage that might surprise or whatever. someone might get 9 points from 3 games, but I think Mexico are the stronger side in there. I think Czech Republic will surprise people. I think they've got a few good players. And I know what South Korea are capable of. We know South Korea are on a bad side, but I just think the Czech Republic might edge it a little bit just to get them through above them. And then yeah, South Korea in third. And I just don't think South Africa have got a good enough side to compete. Now here in Group B, with what I was saying, Switzerland are by far the strongest side in that group. So I think they'll find it pretty comfortable, and they always seem to do well in tournaments, at least to the knockout stages. I feel like Bosnia will just edge it over Canada, just looking slightly a bit stronger. I think Canada just don't have that edge over Bosnia, so that's why I think Canada will be third. Group C, I just think, yeah, Brazil are the strongest team in their group, uncontested. Morocco, they've had a good tournament before. They've got some capable players, so that's why they'll be second. In Scotland just edge or clear it. Haiti, they're much better than Haiti on paper, anyway. Um, with regards to Group D, I just think Turkey are a much stronger side than the USA, so that's why I think they'll top their group. I think USA still will, do better than Paraguay and Australia, and I think Paraguay probably have a few more competitive players in Australia, so that's why I think that. Group E, the reason I think Germany top their group is because I think they're the most well-rounded team. I think Ecuador having the best defence, building up to the qualifiers, and only conceding there was something like 5 goals in 15 games or 10 games or so. Between 10 and 15 games, they only conceded 5 goals, and they played the likes of Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay. So with an impressive feat like that and having the best defensive record, I think they'll get in over Ivory Coast. And then obviously Curacao got no hope, I believe. Now, in Group F, the Netherlands, I said, would top their group, and that's just because I think they've got the stronger side in their group. Sweden, I think, will just edge it over Japan. I think their attack and what they seem to do on an international level at the minute seems to be a little bit stronger in the build up to this. Okay, they had to go through the qualifiers, but yeah, they seem to be getting into a bit of flow. Japan are obviously better than Tunisia. I could be wrong here, but that's just what I believe, that Sweden edge it over Japan. And then going on to Group G, you got Belgium, which, yeah, even like their aging squad and their past golden generation edges everyone else in the group. I think Egypt are stronger than Iran and New Zealand, so I think that's pretty straightforward. And then it's the same with this group, Group H. So Spain, I said, would top their group. Spain, obviously Euro winners, and Spain, a very good side and one of the favourites going into this. Uruguay, obviously, are much better than Cape Verde or Saudi Arabia. Well, obviously, I think Saudi Arabia finished third because I think they're a better team than Cape Verde. France, I said, would win their group. Again, one of the other favourites for this tournament. Norway, I said, I believe will finish second. They've got a surprisingly good side. You can't write off Haaland, Odegaard. They've got some really good players in defence like Christopher Ajer and Ostergaard. They've got a well-rounded team. They've got some good players in the midfield, Sander Berge. So I think the balance to the team is what will help them finish second. I think Senegal will still finish third above Iraq clearly because I don't think Iraq can compete. And then Group J, you got Argentina, Algeria, Austria, Jordan. I'd say I think Argentina top their group. Again, another one of the favourites of the tournament. And previous winners. Then I think Austria edge it over Algeria. Just again, I think they've got a more balanced team, a rounded team. I think Algeria obviously finished third and then Jordan fourth. And Group K, with what I was saying, I think Portugal, people are sort of saying, could this be Ronaldo's World Cup? Could he do it? I'm not too sure. They have a very good midfield. I'm not sure on the defence. I'm not too convinced by the defence. Obviously, the midfield is very strong, but we'll have to see how well they can do. And I do think the attack may be a bit slower and weaker compared to others. But I still think they top their group. I think Colombia finished second. Colombia's got some good players as well. And then the Democratic Republic of Congo will finish third over Uzbekistan. Now, Group L, I said I believe England will top their group, and you know, people are trying to write off Tuchel on his picks. I believe there are some questionable picks. You know, why didn't Morgan Gibbs White go? Why didn't Harry Maguire go? Why didn't Lewis Hall go? And I completely agree. You know, but there is the element of maybe he's picked players to suit a certain style and a style of play that he wants to play, and we can't judge until we see. Now, if he gets it wrong, we can all call for his head and say that was completely ridiculous. Shouldn't have done that. Elliot Anderson and Declan Rice would be my preferred midfield, starting midfield together. But we'll see what ideas he has and how he wants to play when the tournament starts. But yeah, I believe England will top their group. I believe Ghana will finish second. I just think this aging Croatian side isn't what it was, so I'm not sure and not convinced by it. I think they are past their best. So I think they'll finish third, and obviously Panama fourth. Now, there's something else I do want to touch on, and that's hold on, and that's the what I think are the dark horses of the tournament. I've been saying this to people I interact with for a while now. Oh, this needs charging. Is that working? Right. I strongly believe that Germany are the dark horses of the tournament. I've got a few good reasons. Um, they've been poor in the last two World Cups. You know, I think one of them they didn't even make through the group stage. The year that Tony Cruz scored an absolute unbelievable free kick. They've got a very well-rounded side. They've got an abundance of goalkeepers. I mean, even a 40-year-old Manuel Neuer. If you was looking what he was doing for Bayern Munich in the Champions League and what he's been doing for them this year, there's a reason he's still starting between the sticks. He may be past his best a little bit. He may not even be the starting keeper, but he is a phenomenal keeper and he brings experience. He's got great knowledge, like reaction still for his age. Um, so yeah, I think obviously that the defence they've got Schlotterbeck, who's one of the big names that people saying they want at their clubs right now. You got Jonathan Tah, which went invincible with Leverkusen over to Bayern Munich, and he's been a revelation there. People can say what they want, but he has. There's a reason they went so deep into the Champions League. He's been the standout defender for Bayern Munich over Meccano, over Kim Min Jae, who got forced out of his place. And there's a reason they moved for him when they did, because they needed someone to improve that defence. So you got Jonathan Tah, Schlotterbeck, you got Rudiger, who's at Real Madrid, who's experienced. You got Brown, who's up and coming as a fullback, been doing very well, and Bayern Munich being linked with him. There's some good defenders there. And then in the midfield, you got Kimmich. We all know what Joshua Kimmich is about. We know what he's capable of. Then you got Pavlovic, who's also a very, very good player, and still only like 22 or something. He's solid, complete, and could walk into most clubs pretty easily. Maybe not starting, but he would push for that first place team in a lot of teams. Then you've got Stiller, who's breaking through and doing very, very well. Obviously, the injury to Leonard Carl's not good for them, but then they called up Udriego, which from Leipzig, he's only like 20 years of age, phenomenal player, a lot of potential, a lot of ability. So, they've replaced one young player with another young player. I don't see the problem there. Then you got Florian Wirtz, which Nagelsmann seems to get the best out of. You got Musiala, we know what he's capable of. We know how class he is. Leroy Sané, who just scores for fun. Kai Havertz, who I think is an underrated striker. People don't rave about him too much, but I think he's underrated. I mean, I'm an Arsenal fan, and I think highly of him. I think he's our best striker at Arsenal. So, and you can see in his hold-up play, and he scores important goals in big moments, and he's a big game player. And he's clinical when it comes down to it. He's very good. I think so. For me, I think Germany are dark horses of the tournament. I think they get to the semi-finals, and that's just my personal opinion on that. With regards to England, I will touch on it, and that's I believe with England, depending on how the bracket goes, I've heard that the bracket is more favourable for us in how we get there, but we could possibly do a semi-finals depending on how the players turn up and how we perform, and how Tuchel wants to play. Now, there's certain elements, like I said, me personally, I wouldn't have took Jed Spence, I would have took Lewis Hall because I'd prefer a left-footed left back. Tuchel does what Tuchel does. So I would have preferred Lewis Hall. Um, Obviously Nico O'Reilly would have been the starting left back. I would have took Harry Maguire over Dan Burn. I think Harry Maguire's experience and big moments are more crucial. I would have probably took Morgan Gibbs White over Jordan Henderson because the game changer and the form he's been in, you can't ignore that. Um, in terms of that, I don't think there's any other picks I would have changed. Now, people say about Noni Madueke, but in terms of you could look at Jared Bowen. What's Jared Bowen really done for West Ham this season? People say, oh yeah, but West Ham had a bad season. Yes, but I watched West Ham quite regularly. Jared Bowen just wasn't delivering. There was moments like Jared Bowen a year ago, 2 years ago, was putting the moments he had away or taking the game by the scruff of the neck. Wasn't doing any of that. He was flat this season himself. So I understand it because Madueke is not phenomenal, but he's got that burst of pace. He can beat a man. It's just his end product. It kind of reminds me like of Jeremy Doku, where he drop of the shoulder or that burst of pace, or he's quick at beating his man, but it's that final ball, that final decision making, or they hold on to it too long and try too much. And that's just something, if he can get out of his game, all his levels go up and up. I'm not saying he'll be world class because he won't. So for me, I understand it because it's only a backup player there anyway. Because we know Saka's going to be starting, and we know how good for England he is. He's been one of our best players for 2 tournaments, pushing on to possibly 3 tournaments now, like including Europe, like both Euros he played in. Um, yeah, so it depends how Tuchel's going to play and how he's going to set up and the style of play he wants to implement in that team. Um, so with regards to England, possible semi-finals as well, which if we do, I'm not too bothered. Like that's Tuchel's first tournament. If he can get there, well done to him. Um, yeah. So obviously that's what I think of England. With regards to Portugal, as I said, I think they've got a great midfield. I'm not sure if the attack's going to be effective enough. I guess there's the fairy tale for Ronaldo at his age, last tournament. Can he do it? Messi's done it before. I'm not too sure. I'm not too convinced. The midfield's good, but other teams have a very good midfield. Like you can put Portugal's midfield up, and then, for example, compare it to England's midfield, and okay, you got Coutinho, or you got Elliot Anderson, and then say you got João Neves. Okay, well you got Declan Rice. Now, I'm not saying individually they're better, but you got player for player that can compete with each other, and it's the same with like France or Brazil. Like their midfields can compete with Portugal's. So I'm not overly convinced, by Portugal's defence and attack if it's enough. We'll just have to see. Um, with regards to France, their attack's deadly, but can they do it? Like, I'm not sure. It's just one of those. Like, they've been dominating for a while. Obviously, Spain won the Euros. I'm the only worry I have that's like not worried. I'm not concerned too much about other teams. But like the one thing around Spain is their striker. They're playing a winger up front in Oyarzabal, and is he convincing enough? Is he good enough? Can he really do it to lead the line for a winning nation? I mean, Spain would probably, all jokes aside, be better off using Mikel Merino as a striker, considering what he can do. Um, Brazil, they got some good players on individual ability. Can they work it as a team? Because they are. It's not Brazil 2002. You're comparing Ronaldinho to Neymar. You're comparing, which people try to do, but for me personally, Ronaldinho is the greatest player I've ever seen. You try and compare Rivaldo to Vini Jr. It's just no comparison. And like R9 or whoever they've got up front, I don't know who they've taken because it's not Richarlison. Is it Igor Thiago? Yeah, I understand why Igor Thiago's gone. He's impressive what he's done in the Premier League, but what I'm saying is the standards and levels. Is it going to be good enough? Like they've taken, I think it's, oh god, the defender Alexandro. He's like 35, left back. That's their starting left back. Some players are good with age, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. I don't think they're going to have that cutting edge. I will say though, one thing we do know is European teams do tend to struggle in places like that because of the heat. So that could also be a factor in this tournament. Um, yeah, so we'll have to see what happens, how things play out. And then going on to Argentina, I'm not sure they've got the side anymore. Like they've done it in one tournament, it was a fairy tale for Messi. It's I'm not sure really what they're gonna bring to this. I'm not overly convinced by their squad. I'm not trying to like talk trash on them. I'm just I think the attack's fallen off a little bit. I think the midfield's a little bit weaker. I think the defence is weaker. So we'll just have to see what happens there, how they can perform, how they can. I mean, like I say, I know the European teams struggle more in the heat in the tournaments, but this is why I'm more convinced by Germany and their well-rounded balance. I know they're a European team, but balance to that team is where I'm at with it. And oh god, gone it for some reason. But yeah, that's why I'm more convinced by Germany than the other teams. Um, Let me know your thoughts and everything. And yeah, this is Pints and Nutmegs, and I've been Craig. And I'd say I'll be doing this on a regular basis throughout the tournament, throughout the pre-season, and then Premier League teams. And I'm an Arsenal fan, but I'll be talking on all teams. I'll be talking on all cops, and as neutral as possible, and as balanced as possible, and just giving some insight on what I believe. And as I say, this is my first video, so I hope you like it. And cheers, everyone.